We're looking at a couple of different grade calendars, from 160 to 174 to 180 days, school calendars. We're looking at it for a couple of reasons. One of the biggest things that we're lacking in our school system is staff development time for our teachers. Through some grants that we've had over the last several years, we have pulled teachers out of the classroom quite a bit for that instruction and training. And we wanted to change that, and when they're in the classroom, we want them in the classroom instructing and not coming out for training and those things. So we want to try to build in some training time. We've gone from one extreme of 160 days to 174 days to 180 days traditional calendar. This one over here is our traditional calendar, very similar to the one we had this year with a few little changes. That starting school on August the 1st. The blue up there is the start, and then May 23rd is the last day with the 25th being graduation. You have some different color as far as green, which is not showing up different from the yellow on that one. But you've got some staff development days and then some teacher work days where they're actually designated the difference. If they're work days, teachers can work in their classrooms, work on their permanent records, work on their grades and those kinds of things, as opposed to staff development days where we have planned training for them. Under the 180-day calendar, traditional school calendar, 190 of those are teacher days. The 174-day calendar, and that's first semester there. School would start August the 6th. Still get the full fall break, but we moved it to October, coincide with Columbus Day holiday also. And the students would have the whole week off. The teachers would have 3 of those days off, with one of them be a staff development day and the other one be a teacher work day. November, Christmas, still we start on cutting school on the 21st. All right, okay, we are.
Just scroll down.
Scroll. Oops, going up, not down. January starts on January 5th, 7th, with our winter break there in February. School ends on the 24th, with graduation on the 25th also. Teachers will end May 31st. And then our most extreme calendar is our 160-day calendar, where we'd have school starting on Tuesday after Labor Day and ending still May 24th. We eliminate the fall break, except for a teacher in October. We would have a teacher work day on Friday with school out on Columbus Day. Teacher work day would be on Election Day, and then you get Thanksgiving off. Christmas would be exactly the same, except for staff coming back on the 3rd and 4th. And then our winter break would be stretched over. It wouldn't be a full week. Any questions about the calendars?
What's the advantage of having fewer total student days?
The main advantage would be a couple of things there. One is we build in, we still have teachers as 20 days here for teachers, 180 days. So we build in more training and time that we can leave teachers in the classroom. Over the last several years, with several of the grants that we've received from the state, Striving Readers Grant, which is a sizable grant, there came a lot of required training, and that training occurred during the school day. We didn't, we have got to, when we have our school days, we've got to focus on teaching bell to bell. We can't have teachers pulling them out of classrooms and things like that. But the way everything is evolving and changing, we need time that we can also have training time for them. This was an option. We've got several school systems in the state of Georgia that have gone to a 160-day calendar. There can be a savings on a 160-day calendar.
But not as far as the quality of the education the kids are getting. That's 20 fewer days the kids are in class, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And if you count days with parties and movies and stuff like that, then you're really down to like 145 effective teaching days.
And that's what if we decided and we did go with this calendar, that teaching time would have to be greatly protected. And some of those extra days, some of those party days and things would have to be very limited.
What are the maximum number of days that the teachers have to be here? Because it seems to me that you can still teach the kids 180 days, and the teachers are paid over a 12-month calendar, so why not do 195 days instead of just 190 days and you have your 5 extra days?
They're contracted 190 days. If we
Okay.
go over that, then we have to increase their salaries based upon that.
So, but 10 days isn't sufficient for your training?
It's not just the 10 days for training. It's also doing permanent records at the end of the year, report cards, getting their classrooms ready and set up at the beginning of the year. Those take time and take days to do that too. And then we start throwing in a lot of different training. 10 days is not enough. It really isn't. Now, I mean, we can stay with 180 and 90 days. This particular calendar was 174 days for students. That was 6 days off, three one semester and 3 the next. But that gives 16 days of staff development and teacher work days, which helps greatly. Yes, sir.
How does this affect the length of the school day, each calendar?
The calendar, it would affect the length a little bit, not much. We already have built in more minutes than we need, which benefits us in a number of areas. So if we take high school, for instance, you have to have 330 academic minutes, and then when you add 30 minutes for lunch and 30-minute transition time, you have 390 minutes. Well, currently we go 420 minutes anyway. So it would not be that much. We may have to add a total of 15 minutes. If we went to this extreme, it'd be about 15 or 20 minutes we'd have to add to the school day.
But that's not really quality education time. That's 15 minutes of filler where you may or may not have some benefit for the kids. I think the more physical days you have with the kids, the better chance of them being taught more than just trying to add a few minutes to a day.
I totally understand.
It's like getting your employees to work overtime. You get a little bit more, but not a lot. That's not really beneficial. So,
Well, that's the reason we've got different options. I mean, we do have several school systems in the state of Georgia that have gone to this calendar and love this calendar and actually have been successful with that calendar. We have a number of school systems that wouldn't dare touch it. So, I mean, that's the reason we're having meetings, is to try to come up with, not only the staff, but also the community as far as involvement in deciding what calendar we come out with. These are just options. Yes, sir.
Can you reduce the size of that 190 calendar so we can compare them?
Well, I can't, but I know somebody that probably can.
I'm just trying to see apples to apples here.
Absolutely.
Now, what would be the advantage or disadvantage of the 190 day compared to the 180 day compared to the 160?
The advantage to going to the 174 days school day calendar here is that we have 16 total days that we can spend teaching teachers that we do not have to pull out of classes to teach.
Okay, and this has 20 days.
That has 20 days built in.
And this only has 10.
That one only has 10.
Okay. So that'd be kind of a medium
It
compromise.
is. And, not by design, but we're testing the 170-day calendar this year already because of eclipse, hurricanes, and historical snowfalls.
A trace of snow.
Just thankful we were not in Bartow or Cherokee counties.
I know, right? They totally dropped the ball on that one.
Ooh. That's that's one of those, after it really starts coming down, you say, whew, that was a good call.
Yeah, because they caught a lot of flack from parents.
Yeah, they grounded their buses and
Yeah.
the parents had to go get the kids.
It's hard on parents, yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, why not have, why not cut out some of the breaks? I mean, do they necessarily need a fall break?
Not necessarily, but I have had a number of people out in the community actually tell me that they didn't care what calendar we went with, as long as we didn't touch fall and winter breaks. Because that's where they plan their family vacations, because that's off-season for most of the cost. And so, I mean, you have the extreme. I will say that there are times that there are breaks that are needed. You know, a long time ago, I thought we had way too many breaks. But after getting into administration and everything, I was glad to see some of those breaks because somebody was going to die. I didn't know who, if it was a parent, teacher, student, but somebody. It was so stressful.
Somebody had to have a break.
Just please, everybody go home for just a little while.
Just the only thing with all the breaks throughout the years, it adds a hardship for both working parents that, you know, if the summer we're all grouped together, like when we all went to school, then they offer programs for 2.5 to 3 months. But now I've got 4 weeks throughout the year that I have to figure out who's going to watch my kids. And there's no camps, there's no other things like, no other opportunities or options for me.
One of the things that we are also looking at doing, doesn't matter which calendar we're going to go with, of course it makes it easier if we have longer summer, but we are looking at doing several things. I've been talking to my staff about. I want to do, I know we do a summer food program for a number of our kids, but the problem is we can't get it to the communities. We can only get it to drop-off locations. Well, I was talking to our director of food service and about equipping a bus and delivering them to the neighborhoods. Also, do any of you remember the old bookmobiles? Well, I'd like to do one a little bit better than that. Not only deliver books to neighborhoods, but have story times and things like that with that bus. I've been talking to technology about equipping a bus or two that have internet capabilities and being able to go out and have computer labs in neighborhoods and we're also looking at camps, doing a number of different camps on campus throughout the summer. Of course, the shorter summers, the less we can do with some of those things, but we are looking at trying to help bridge that gap to some extent.
Well, but you still have the excessive number of breaks throughout the actual school year that are the real issue. In the summertime, you can find big chunks of, you know, hire someone to watch your kids, but when it's just a week here and a week there, and stuff like that, it just seems more problematic to find. They end up going to my work and sitting in my office during the day. And I just...
And there may be some things that we might can do to alleviate some of that with some mini camps of some sort through some of those holidays. It's just getting people to actually come in and help work with them.
Yeah.
I don't know what would be the biggest problem with, I mean, I know a number of parents that, like I said, I had several this morning at a breakfast meeting tell me they didn't care what calendar we did as long as we didn't touch fall and winter breaks. I mean, it's
Yeah.
one half
You
dozen.
can always take your kids out of school if you're planning a ski trip and you want to have the school closed for that time. So.
Right.
On this 160-day calendar, what's the work hours per day? Is that 9?
9 hours
9 hours.
on that one.
Is that what normally, I guess most of the regular calendar now is an 8-hour workday? And that's from 7:30 to...
It varies from school to school.
Okay.
Any other questions about calendars? When we're through, I am going to ask all of you to vote. You have a choice. So we actually have 2 ballots, one for the calendar and one for grade level configurations. And if there's no more questions or comments,
What's the starting date on that calendar?
the one that's not there at the moment,
Yeah.
August 6th.
August 6th, okay.
So those are August and that's September.
Yes, ma'am.
I do like the later start date That way the kids have
Start
more.
saying, was there an and coming in
Well,
that?
I'm thinking, that way they have more of their summer break, and parents can kind of plan, but to me, all that necessary breaks just seems
Well, you know-
unnecessary, but that's just me.
Well, this one, we eliminate a lot of the breaks, except for Thanksgiving,
Right.
Christmas, spring break. We have a day or two here and there, but other than that, I mean, that takes away most of the break.
And that gives you the extra days you need for the teachers as well.
It does. It does. You know, do I have a concern about academics? Absolutely. I do have a concern about 20 less academic days. That's a concern. We've got to make sure our staffs, our teachers are teaching bell to bell.
Have you thought about taking out some of the days for the Thanksgiving break and then just only getting the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday?
Yes, I have. I'm not sure. We actually did that not long ago, where we were used to having a week-long Thanksgiving break, and we took out, I think, Monday and Tuesday one year. We had nobody show up at school on Monday and Tuesdays. Terrible days, attendance days.
We're messing with the season.
Exactly. And of course, you know, anytime you have major absences like that, that hurts the school, because we get graded on all that also. So, you know, if we're not going to be there, let's don't be there. But if we are, we need to be there.
How long has that been a practice of taking the whole week off for Thanksgiving?
It's been 10, 12 years at least.
As long as Dalton's been in school, yeah.
So it's a relatively new thing to not take just Thursday and Friday for Thanksgiving, I guess. Because I guess back when I was still in school in the early 90s, that, you know, we still went Monday to Wednesday, and then, you know, Thursday and Friday were it. And it was all of the extra breaks and that full week for Thanksgiving's all been new to me in the past 5 years of my kids in school.
I'm not sure why. It's been a long time since we went to just have a half day. I don't remember. I know it's been at least 10 or 12 years or so. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I do have a question. What about snow? I mean, there, in this 160, there's no room. I mean, what if we have a, you know, week or two of snow? Where's that gonna affect
That is a concern, and you know, we start missing days at 160, we're going to start making days up. Now, we will have built in a few of those minutes that add up to days that more than we have to, but when we start missing that much academic time, then yes, we're going to start making it up.
How much time do you allow on that calendar?
It depends on school start times. We've been looking at a lot of different school start times. There was enough built in at one of the times that we were looking, and I'm still waiting on transportation to continue running some numbers for us. But we can miss 6 or 7 days total without having to make them up. But if you're down to 160 days and you miss 6 or 7 days, you need to start making some of those up.
So if you were to make them
Academic-wise.
up, then that would be from the 27th on.
It could. Well, and realistically, you get down to here, it's over. You don't need to make them up. And also, if it's first semester, I mean, we missed 8 days first semester. We can make those 8 days up, but it's not going to help high school, because first semester is over with Thursday, end of course tests are over with. Could it help middle school and elementary? It could, but it wouldn't help high school. So, and most of your makeup days are usually scheduled in February, but you know, with eclipse, hurricanes, historical snowfalls, I'm waiting for glaciers and meteor showers coming after Christmas, so I don't know. But if it gets to that point, we've got to make things up. And it makes it harder to make it up on a 160-day calendar. It does.
Now, would you put it in for Saturday makeup days?
Oh, if we had to, but
I bet you probably wouldn't.
that we've done that before too. And we've had teachers and kids that were court mandated to be in school, and teacher kids, and that was about it.
A full mutiny.
Pretty close. Yeah. But we wanted to give you options and choices all the way across the board. I heard a lot of people that, why don't we start school? Well, we start school way too early. But we didn't start till after Labor Day. Well, there's a calendar for after Labor Day. There's a calendar just like it is right there, and then there's one that's a little bit of a compromise. I actually had thrown out a 170-day earlier, but I like the 174 a lot better than I did the 170. Yes, sir.
What kind of protections do you put in place under the 160-day option to make sure that the students are getting taught bell to bell?
Holding principal, from my level, is holding principals and assistant principals accountable for that, making sure in their building, they are the instructional leaders in their building. And I believe that their principals are 100% responsible for everything in their building. And I give them the authority to handle that responsibility. And so with it, I expect bell-to-bell instruction. I also promised teachers back in our first meeting that I would get rid of much of the junk as I possibly could to allow them to teach. But the other side of that is to allow them to teach bell-to-bell.
We have one more. Of course, this is back in the Stone Age when I went to school, but we also went into June. I didn't graduate till June 7th. Is it that we don't want to go any further past Memorial Day, or?
No, unfortunately, what has occurred over the years is a little thing called high-stakes testing. And over the years, teachers, students, and parents, once testing is over with in April or late April, 1st of May, school's over with, except coming. So by increasing it into June for academic reasons, it hasn't happened in the past. And so,
Well, it all has to do with testing.
yeah.
Well, I noticed that,
And
after testing, it was like, woo!
And I'm totally against high-stake testing also, but that's a whole nother conversation we can have later. But in reality, but there again, we need to hold teachers accountable for. That's the time where you start doing things that you can really have fun teaching, but still a lot of teachable moments in there that you might not have been able to do during getting ready for, unfortunately, those tests. It's part of our curriculum.
On the 174 calendar there, what is that break in October? Or is that a break?
It is. Historically, we've had that a week-long break in September.
That's the fall break.
That's the fall break. It just, we moved it to coincide with Columbus Day.
To fall, yeah.
Yeah, actual fall.
Yeah.
In the end of the night.
Early summer break.
Yeah, okay. And you don't have that here?
No, we don't. Although we do have new software available. And I don't think it's touch screen.
Come watch me.
So if we did something similar on the 174-day calendar to the 160-day calendar, then we could move our start date back just a little bit in August, possibly.
We could, very possibly.
Yeah, 'cause you have a Friday and a Monday in October.
Yeah. One of them's a teacher in-service staff development day, and the other's a holiday.
So what, moving it later into August?
Well, if you just had the same break period here.
If we
Or
eliminate,
actually, it's just a
start
holiday.
eliminating winter break and fall break, and just putting a couple of days, then
Mhm.
we could move the start time a little bit later.
Because you've got the week in November and December anyway. Possible.
Yeah, those are options, absolutely.
And if you did a Friday and then a Monday and Tuesday, you would still get 5 days, and then you're back, people could still have their vacations. If they,
Are you talking about doing the same as you have here?
Yeah, if you're doing a Friday and then Monday and
Pull up
Tuesday, so you
the,
still get 3 days out of school, but then you get a whole
170-day
weekend, yeah.
Yeah, it's on a Friday and a
Or
Monday.
it doesn't matter.
That goes back to
We
what
pull it
the
up
parents
here.
said, as long as you keep those week-long
Yeah,
breaks.
Well, technically,
The
it's a week.
170-day calendar did eliminate some of that,
Hmm.
but, you know, it depends on which group comes through. Some
It'd
say.
be nice to be able to balance it where you get a later start time, but you still get your adequate training time and
Absolutely.
curriculum time.
Yeah. The big thing is that it over there? That's 170 days.
Yeah.
And y'all can't see that, can you? Or can you?
So the start date on that's the 20th? Is that what it is?
The actual start date on that was August 29th.
Oh, okay.
There's the Friday, the 5th, and the only total school holiday is Labor Day, Columbus Day. You do get the week at Thanksgiving. Christmas starts, last day is the 21st of December. Students come back on the January 7th. Staff comes back on the 3rd and 4th. MLK Day, President's Day, and then a week at April.
Can't quite see how many training days you have there.
It's, teachers on this was 186 days, so it's 16 days.
12 working days, 12 working
Yeah.
days, 5 staff development.
And how many hours per day for the students?
It's still gonna be very close. The teacher work day is 8 hours and 10 minutes on that one. So, I mean, we're still looking at, transportation. Some of the start times is gonna decide on our next conversation somewhat. So we'll,
That looks like that might be a good compromise. Is that adequate, 16 working, or 16 training days?
so, yes, it is.
How come we can have 190 days here, but only 186 there? Because at 170 and 190, you still get your 20 days of training.
We could add those 4 days back in for the staff.
I didn't know if we were looking at a finite number of days that you want to do.
We're
or-
trying to increase it, but also to, I mean, yeah, we can bring it staff in full 20 days, which would take that down to less than 8 hours and 10 minutes. I mean, it'd take back down to 8 hours. Any other questions or comments about calendars? We're okay moving to the next subject area. Grade level configurations. We have several options. First option is to build a brand new middle school on the location it's at. Well, let me back up. Last time I looked, we had 27 more kids this year than we did last year. We have stagnant growth over the last 6, 7, 8, 9 years. It's been pretty steady. Although the economy's looking better and there's starting to be a few more construction, there's not going to be a booming growth anytime in the near future. It may be some elevated growth, but not a spiking kind of growth. That's what we're looking at. We have some facilities that need some repair and some things on them, but getting to the options. Our first option is to rebuild a brand new Jasper Middle School on Jasper Middle School's campus. That's one option. Second option is to build a new Jasper Middle School at a different location. Third option is to combine Jasper Middle School with Pickens County Middle School and make one big 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Another option is to go K-6 with all 4 elementary schools, make them K-6 schools, and then have a 7th and 8th grade school, and then a 9, 12. And then another option would make 3 of our 4 elementary schools K-4 schools. Harmony, Tate, Harmony, and Hill City, make Jasper Elementary School a 5, 6 grade school, and then Pickens County Middle School a 7th and 8th grade school. All of them have advantages and disadvantages. some of the disadvantages. Well, let's go through all of them. First off, we've got to do something with the Jasper Middle School. If you've not been in it in a while,
Pretty rough.
yeah, it is. You can't renovate it, and you can't repair it. So we've got to do something with that facility. We can go in and we can make we can build a new school. If we build a new school, either on that property or other property, it's going to cost quite a bit of money.
Do you have estimates on that?
We do have some estimates. Last time we were looking, do you remember what the estimates were on it? It was, if we go full middle school, it was
17 or 18.
17 or 18 million dollars.
For to totally rebuild, tear it down, rebuild it?
You also have the option of, like I said, rebuilding. If we do that out of, now our SPLOST that we've got is set out for $30 million, $300 million, no, $30 million. I wish it was $300 million. Wow, we wouldn't be having any problems with conversations.
If you don't have 30 million set aside now, it's.
No, but we never collect what it is because we don't collect all the taxes every year. We're hopeful we'll collect 26, 27 million of that, 30 million over a 5-year period. If we take 18, 19, 20 million of that to build a new school, that leaves us several million to do what we need to do at all the other schools. Our high school is a little over 17 years old, and for the most part, the main part of the building, nothing has been done to it. Pickens County Middle School, there are several things we need to do at Pickens County Middle School. One of the biggest things at Pickens County Middle School, we need to enclose that campus so kids are not walking between buildings going outside. We need to bring the office area of that building to the front of the school so nobody enters the school and has access to all the hallways before they get to the office area, just from a security standpoint. We also would like to put an auditorium at that building. Now, if we build it as a 7th and 8th grade, our only 7th and 8th grade school, and it doesn't have competition, then we can also build a new ag building there and even move our old cannon plant to it with the new cannon plant. If we go one middle school, one 7th and 8th grade school, we can offer more high school subjects and things and opportunities to our 7th and 8th graders. Currently, we don't let 6th grade play most middle school sports. FFA does not recognize 6th grade. They started 7th grade. So you have those things that already upset our 6th graders when they get there, that they can't participate in some of those things. So the other thing is I don't like a large, great selection being together in one building. I know we separate them out a lot, but if we go K-6, at some of our schools, that's 8 grade levels, from pre-K to 6th grade. And I know I'm jumping around a lot. Let me let you look at some numbers. The other options, I went through all of them. We can build the big, massive 6th, 7th, and 8th grade school. I was at Pickens County Middle School when we had 1,100 kids. Is it doable? Yes. Is it pleasant? No. Kids, you don't get to know the kids. You just have a lot of people, and from an administration standpoint, you know the top few, and you know the ones that you see a lot in the office, the other few. Massive in the middle, you never really get to know. And it loses its identity. If we go K-6, there's some advantages of that. You keep all 4 elementary schools intact. But if we go K-6, we got some issues with numbers. Pre-K-5, and this is Harmony, Hill City, Tate, and Jasper Elementary. This is next year's projected enrollment if we stay at K-5 right now. This, although these are like 800, 713, 525, and 800, these would be the maximum number in the classrooms if every classroom was totally full with regular ed kids. But we have pre-K, we have special needs, resource classrooms, we have speech, we have a number of special classrooms that bring those numbers down. So although these look like there's a lot of room, there's not a lot of room. If we go K6 right here, it puts Hill City at, Harmony at 655 kids. Puts Hill City at 728, which even if we didn't take in consideration pre-K, resource special ed, and some of the other classes, we're already over here. We're going to have to either, if we're going to leave the district lines the way they are, we're going to have to build classrooms at Hill City. Harmony would be full. Tate, we need 450 kids at Tate. That is where we start receiving full funding of base school funding. Anything less is we're not collecting all the money we could collect. So 450 is your base school. If we leave the district lines the way they are, they only go up to 364. We still don't have enough kids at Tate. And then Jasper Elementary School's at 551. If we go K4 schools, have K4, 3 K4 schools, Harmony goes down to 542 kids. Hill City goes down to 524 kids. Tate goes up to 558 kids. Jasper, 748 kids. We do need to move Mountain Ed to Jasper Middle School if we do this, which is located right here in our facility, and recapture that building. It's doable, and we still got some room there. Not a lot, but we still have some room. And then the 7th and 8th grade school, this is wrong numbers here, but 7th and 8th grade would have 675 kids. If we go here with 729 kids, I was there at Hill City when we had 770-something kids. Actually, we did right at 800 kids before we opened Harmony. We started serving lunch at 9:30 in the morning to get them through. We had art and music on carts. We had every classroom and closet of any size filled with kids, and plus we had 4 trailers. So that, and in order to not have to build schools or to add classrooms at K6, we would have to do a massive redistricting of the entire district. We'd have to move kids from Hill City to Harmony, and from Harmony to Tate. No, I don't want to fight that fight.
No, you don't.
Everybody wants me to, as long as everybody's backing me, we'll go down that road. But I want to upset as few people as I possibly can with this, but that's upsetting the whole apple cart almost. Plus, we would be spending money to build larger schools unless we totally redistrict, which still would be somewhat an issue for going down the road for growth. Some of the, all right, K, I know there's some transition. As a school principal at a K-5 school, after Christmas, a lot of times I was ready for most of our 5th grade to go to middle school. They were ready to go, and I was ready to help them. I called and asked, could we come over early? 5th and 6th grade go together a lot better than 5th grade with kindergarten, pre-K, and 6th grade with 8th grade. They're still young. They still don't know what's happening in middle school. So it would give them a stepping stone towards middle school. Somebody asked, would it be an elementary school? No, it would be possibly Jasper Intermediate School. Something like that with a designation that is not elementary. We could offer. Now, somebody asked about Explore connection classes for sixth grade, because that's what they've got right now. Well, if they go K-6, then they would do the elementary stuff, which it was totally separate. But if we had fifth and sixth grade, we possibly could look at some middle school type of exploratories or connection classes. Yes, sir.
Well, now, we have a big empty lot next to the Hill City Elementary. Is there any consideration?
In the front yard,
Well, you
Yeah,
have a
it's
property.
kind of
where
right.
the sign is,
Yeah,
that is a septic tank fill area.
that's all that is?
That's all it is. The Hill City is on septic tank,
Okay.
and that's where the septic tank is.
Okay, so you can.
'Cause I was there when they built it.
Okay, I see.
Is this,
And you really don't want to drive out in the middle of that either, because it could sink on you.
is this gonna take place in the 18-19 school year or 19-20?
Yes, sir.
If we went to the intermediate school with a 5-6, does that mean, like for extracurriculars like band, would they start band in 5th grade or would they start band in 7th grade?
Well, that's one thing we'd have to talk to with our band people. I'd like to see the option of them starting it really in 5th grade, actually. Whether it's with recorders and those kinds of things, or actually start into the band part themselves. I'd love to be able to start offering a true, honest-to-goodness foreign language, no later than 5th grade, looking at that down the road also. So there's things that we can do if we only had all of them in one facility, because we couldn't duplicate it over several schools possible.
Follow-up to that is, for the K-4, how do you determine what students from Harmony get sent to Tate? Where would,
We wouldn't necessarily have to. My vision, and transportation is helping draw some lines for us to look at and things like that, is I really don't see kids in Harmony, Hill City, or Tate that are in K-3 right now having to move anywhere. Unfortunately, it's the Jasper this year's 3rd grade and 4th grade that would really have to be dispersed out. And of course, 5th grade would all be coming to this facility here. And there's several ways that we can do that to help try to lessen the problem with it. Of course, we would redistrict, and one of the policies that the board is looking at and we'll be discussing and everything and talking about it is with a lot of guidelines and policies and restrictions and limitations. We may try to go to an open campus where under certain guidelines and everything, you may have a choice of where you want to take your child. And I want to do some surveys to find out the impact of that. We'll start some surveys. We'll come back after Christmas, depending upon the grade configuration, to see, if you had a choice of wanting to take your child to a school outside the, now we're only looking at 3 schools. It'd be Harmony, Hill City, and Tate would be the choice, because everything else would be centralized one school. So, and with their locations where they are, I think my thoughts is that it'd be a wash on the kid out of the district to those areas, but we're going to do some surveys to see what kind of impact that would have.
Okay, I do have one question.
Okay.
If we went to 5 and 6, 5 and 6 at JES, would they all, would a bus driver, would we pick up all pre-K or kindergarten through 6th grade?
No.
Or is
Well,
5
we're
and 6
looking
going to
at-
go?
No, well, right now, we pick up 6th grade through 12th grade on one bus. There wouldn't be that much of a difference to pick up 5th grade through 12th grade on one bus.
Okay, so the 5th graders would go in with high school on the bus?
And as a principal, and I know, don't throw things at me on this one, but as a principal, I had less discipline problems on that bus when it was high school through kindergarten. Because the high school kids sat in the back, the middle school sat in the middle, and the elementary up front, and the high school kids made the middle school put picking on the elementary school. I had a lot more discipline problems when we went to K-5 buses. So, but under this scenario, we would probably do, they would do 5th grade through 12th grade on the same bus. We currently do 6th through 12th right now. Questions, comments?
How are y'all gonna be separating Jasper Elementary School students now, if you do the 5th and 6th year?
We've drawn district lines and reproportionate based upon the district lines and the population where they fall. We're looking at some scenarios to present to the board, depending upon which way the board wants to go with it. And then I'll do a survey to see what kind of impact it would have having school choice. But I will say though, if we went K-6 and we had to do that massive change of districts, that there would be no choices on that one. In order to make that work, we would have to say, you've got to go to that school, because if we grandfathered anybody in, then nobody would move and we'd still have to build classrooms. So, but if we go K-4 and have the room at all the elementary schools, then we'll do a survey and see what kind of effect that would have.
Do you think the lines, based off where they are right now to where they're gonna go, is it gonna be tried to spread equally between the 3 existing schools? Like, is somebody that's going to Jasper right now gonna have to go all the way to Tate?
Well, a lot of them will, depending upon which side of Jasper you live on. I think most of Jasper's kids, most of them, and a few of Hill City's kids, well, of course, we take 5th grade all the way out, but it's most of Jasper's kids that some will go to Harmony, but most of them will wind up going to Tate. And but there again, it's we'll look at those lines. I'm sorry.
So I guess the people that go to Hill City now would be closer to town, would go to Tate. Does that make sense?
Well, I really don't see any of the kids that are in K-3 this year, which would be 4th grade next year, changing schools. It's the 5th grade that would be coming here, but it's more of Jasper's kids that would be dispersed out and not the other kids shifting over.
This is really complicated thing to try to take a vote on in one night.
It is.
The calendar is simple enough, but I think you have to have spreadsheets and district lines and everything else to research before you can make a vote on this.
And it's all can change with just one little tidbit of something, and so what we're going to do is accumulate all the votes and choices and comments and roll them in together and present it to the board. I've had staff meetings, a couple of staff meetings already. I've met with staff on our last off day. And I met with about 300 of them, then I met with a half dozen this afternoon. They've all voted already. And so I'll be glad to share those totals with you. I don't mind that at all as we're going forward. If you want to know what the other people already voted for, it doesn't matter. I mean, not to change your vote or anything.
What does seem to be the most popular decision?
As far as the building of the great configurations, building a new school, brand new school is 32 staff members. Combining Jasper Middle School and Pickens County Middle School was 18. K-6 schools were 11. And then the K-4 configurations with 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th, and 9th and 12th is 212.
And if you do that, do you still need to build a new facility?
We actually would eliminate Jasper Middle School's campus as far as K-12 is concerned. We would move Mountain Ed, which is on this campus, to that facility, and then we would look at other opportunities for that facility. We would not get rid of it, but we would not house kindergarten through 12th grade students in that building from our school.
And that'd be adequate for Mountain Ed, I guess?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, they would actually love being over there. Gives them more room and more parking, and they're pretty cramped where they are right now.
But I thought part of the problem was the facilities at Jasper Middle School were old and run
It
down and
is.
stuff. But,
Yeah.
But I'm okay moving Mountaineer over there. No, they are still, I mean, that mountain education system, and very thankful, and actually, because I'm superintendent here, I serve on that board, so I do care about that school. Those are a lot of our kids also, a lot of Cherokee kids come up, but it is a separate chartered high school altogether.
okay.
It has nothing to do with Pickens County School System. Although we work very closely with them, and because a lot of our kids, they have a little over 200 enrolled in that school. And not all of them, but most of them are Pickens County residents and our former students. But, so I do care about them. But temporarily, right now, we could house them over there, and they would be happy with that until we decided what we were going to do with that facility at all.
Not to get too far off the subject, but do they pay a lease to the
They
school
do.
system? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I guess I had one more question on the Jasper Elementary kids. The redistricting of them, it really only dictates if you require transportation, right? Because otherwise, you could pick which one you wanted your kids to
Very
take.
possibly, that will be up to the school board on our policy revisions that we're looking at. If they choose to change our policy, then yes, you can. With some limitations. I mean, we're not going to, I know I was here back a number of years ago when this was Jasper Primary School, and Tate had a school, and at that time, every week you could go back and forth between the schools. It just depended on who you got mad at this week. So we'd have to limit a lot of the back and forth and those kinds of things, and when you could actually decide what school you wanted to go to, and you know, there would be some limitations to that, but yes, that is something we could work out.
Well, you've thrown a lot of information at us tonight. Could you go over the most popular option there one more time and explain the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th?
The building a brand new school was 32 staff members.
Okay.
Combining Jasper Middle School and Pickens County Middle School and making one big middle school. So 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, which would be over 1,100 kids. We had 18 staff members that wanted to do that. The K-6 configuration, where we had all 4 elementary schools, K-6, and then the 7th and 8th grade school, we had 11. And then the K-4 with 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th, and then 9 through 12 was 212 so far.
And where would these schools be housed at?
You would have, on that last one,
Yeah.
Harmony, Hill City, and Tate would be the K-4 schools.
Okay.
Jasper Elementary School right here would be the 5th and 6th grade school. Pickens County Middle School would be the 7th and 8th grade school.
Okay.
We also have some other issues, and I'll just share this with you, that, of course, we want to go in and we got to do a lot of we got to do some renovations to Pickens County Middle School. There's a lot of things that have not happened there since it's been built. It needs new lighting, new floors. If we are able to do the K-4, 5, 6, 7th, and 8th, and only have 7th and 8th grade at that school, we can go in and close that campus with a front and move the offices to the front, put an auditorium in that building, and then, but I need to move the high school baseball field to the high school. I want the high school baseball field at the high school. I want cross country at the high school. I want our athletes, our kids not leaving our campus to go practice, play, or anything outside our campus because I can't protect them
So
if
you
they're
would
not
have
on
to
our
redo the
campus.
football field.
That's what we're looking at possibly doing is redoing some of our athletic complexes over there. If we redo that, then I can put the baseball field there. But to put the baseball field there, I've got to use the football practice field. And to use the football practice field, then we've got to turf the football field. Now, if we turf our football field, I can use it for middle school and rec league and practice and everything. I mean, you don't have to do anything with it. Our track right now has potholes in it. We cannot run track meets at the high school. So we got to redo our track. We also have, we need to make sure we're equitable in sports between our male and our female athletes. We need a female dressing facilities and locker rooms out there. Right now they have to go into the building, which is an issue. So there's reasons that from a safety issue, from a security issue, and then from a actual starting construction issues. We can start a number of construction things at one time, but anytime we do construction at Pickens County Middle School, which would be the school that if we go this route, we have the most construction, there's a timeline before we can actually break ground on it. And that timeline is we have to get architectural drawings approved, we have to get the state involved. We're looking 8 or 9 months before they can actually break ground on it. So there's a number of other projects that we can start without having to go through that process, and doing some things at the high school with the athletic fields to get baseball over there, to get the cross country over there, to get the equity in girls sports over there. It looks like we start out with just spending our SPLOST money on athletics, which is what we're doing, but we're also at the same time submitting those architectural drawings for Pickens County Middle School, and we're also doing some other things. We're changing Jasper's gym, the old gym here, to a central receiving warehouse where we can start buying in bulk and saving money and being more efficient that way. The Welcome Center at the high school, we can start that pretty quick. And I know that Facebook blew up, and I don't usually look at Facebook, but when I mentioned the guard shack at the high school, it came out like we were going to put prisoners in there. But y'all, our high school is too open. We have kids leaving during the day that shouldn't be leaving, but more importantly, we have visitors coming onto that campus that should not be on that campus. So, I'm not going to do a guard shack, we're going to do a welcome center. If you need any dragon greeters, let me know.
Now, will that be a manned position?
It will.
Is there a way to do that without the extra salary, possibly through electronics or
We can,
technology?
we could, but we'd have to have somebody watching it the entire time, and it's,
We're just looking at
we looked at, and I will share this with you, because of our board and our past boards, we are one of the fewest school systems, maybe the only one. I haven't been able to find out. I don't know if Daniel has yet or not, but we owe absolutely nothing to nobody. We are one of the most financially sound school systems in the entire state of Georgia. We do have a couple of credit cards, but they're paid off monthly. We do not owe anything to anybody. So we are able to do a few extra things like this, and like having art and music and PE in all the elementary schools, bringing that back. A lot of that is local funds. We don't get a lot of state money for those positions, but we chose to do that because we felt that was important. We're able to do some of these other things because of financial decisions our board have made over the years.
That's great.
When is the new, football stadium opening?
See, now that's a great question. Because you can't do it in the summer because you just play football, and there is nowhere else in Pickens County we could put that football on Friday nights for a home game except on that field. You got to be careful of graduation. I have tried to find somewhere else to have graduation so we could have it air conditioned or anything other than in the sun. But there's nowhere to hold 4,000 people except on that field. Well, you start considering graduation, you start considering the football season itself. With the time it takes to do that, it has to begin in January. And whether we do it this January or next January, you're limited to the time that you can do that. So, depending upon the vote on the grade configurations, we will then ask to, on our project list, to start that process, starting it, and y'all gonna have to help me with this one, because I know what it's gonna hit out in the public. We gotta start with that football field.
Well, my question was too, if, like for JYSA's football during
Yes.
the summer and stuff, if JMS is closed, are they still gonna
No,
be able to
we'll
play
have
if we
that,
don't get the
we're not
football
doing
field?
anything with the football field, and JYSA can use that field, but what I also like is if we do turf the high school football field, then JYSA can hold all the games on Saturday morning at the high school football field. So there's those key things that when you look at it, this is what we're doing, but we're really doing all the other stuff is just on a timeline. We can't start construction on Pickens County Middle School until 8, 9, 10 months down the road from now, no matter what, if we started tomorrow.
So next year you would still have JMS.
We'd go ahead and do the grade configurations.
Okay.
And we'd go ahead and get that in place. I really don't want to keep those kids and staff and everything in that school as long as we have to.
So you go ahead and do it, but then you would still have a long-term projection of building onto the school.
Yes.
Okay, that makes
And the
sense.
way, a lot of school systems with a lot of construction companies, they do construct facilities and new sections of facilities while school's in session. And they've gotten pretty good at making sure everybody stays safe.
Yeah, it's not unreasonable. So I assume that the reason we have so many votes for the K4, 5, 6, 7, 8, the schools will be more specialized to the needs of those those children. And obviously, if you have a wide range of children, you can't cover all the bases for as large a crowd, so you move them to different areas.
You can, and also just having kids together, although I know in theory we've never really, or in practical practices, most of the time at middle school, 6th grade and 8th grade didn't match a lot or didn't meet a lot, but sometimes they did. And I know there's a big maturity difference between incoming 6th graders and outgoing 8th graders. And so to keep kids closer to their own age level and maturity level, K4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, if we could do it and do it well and still offer a lot of things to our 9th graders, I'd pull our 9th grade out of the high school and put them in the building by themselves.
Sounds expensive.
That one would be. That's the reason we're not offering it right now. It is, but the 9th grade academies. But a lot of schools are going to that because they see 9th grade is not where they need to be with those 10th, 11th, and 12th graders.
We'll go one step
But we
at a
do
time.
have a 9th grade wing that we've been using, so.
One step at a time.
Yes, absolutely. Any questions, concerns, comments?
So question on transportation.
Yes, sir.
Because each one of these dramatically impacts transportation.
It does. It does, and they're running all the numbers for us right now. Right now, though, we currently run 12 double routes. And the last time I looked, and talking with transportation the other day, and they were looking at several different grade configurations, but the K4 configuration is down to 6 double routes. So they are looking at creative ways of getting the kids to school as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Yes, sir.
Has there been any talk around changing the structure of the periods?
At the high school? Yeah. What we are looking at doing there is doing what we call a modified block schedule, where some of our end-of-course tests, we got like 8 end-of-course tests, and normally we have those tests at the end of course in September, in first semester and second semester. What we're looking at doing for next year is taking some of those end-of-course tests and making them a 45-minute year-long class, or either taking ones that are not year-long classes on that 45-minute and matching things up like American Lit with American History and putting those together. But if they need a block schedule on its end-of-course test, we're going to try to move that to second semester so that we eliminate all the testing, those 7 days of testing within the first semester. So we are looking at tweaking it to that, and we're also looking at adding some more pathways. I know I've had a couple of great conversations with our Technical College, and we're looking at adding some vocational pathways where some of our students can get some certifications or almost finish some of the classes at vocational technical school when they graduate. So we're looking at that in carpentry, auto, not mechanics, but auto repair and collision. We also are looking with certified nursing with our CNA program between them and Reinhardt College. We are on the list to add ROTC to the high school. We're trying to get that instituted as quickly as we can get it funded from the government. So we're looking at trying to add a number of things to meet the needs of our students. We've got a number of our kids do well and go right on into college, but we've got a number of kids that they don't want to go to college, they want to do something else. And we want to spend and make sure we're fair with them and be able to offer them opportunities to be ready for getting out in the world. I know we're looking at 2 pathways. One is public safety, and the other was sports medicine, also to go along with those. We're also talking about culinary arts program, although we've got a great culinary arts pathway at the high school. We're looking at trying to get it certified also with the tech school so they graduate with a certification in culinary arts at the same time they graduate high school. So we're trying to add those things to keep all of our kids involved in school and to make it beneficial for them and not leave out any groups at all. Yes, ma'am.
Did the staff vote on the calendar?
They did.
Are you allowed to share that?
Yes. I can. Now, I will say, this is kind of misleading because I did not share with the staff I did the day, but not the big day of the 174-day calendar. They only had a shot at the 170-day calendar. So it's a little bit off, but 174 and 100, if you had 174 and 170, that was 45 people. 180 days was 62 people, and the 160 was 180 people. Now, yes, that was staff members. So, did they have a bias into it? Absolutely. But they also, almost 100 of them, or something like that, voted for other calendars also, although it's right now 2-1. But we're going to add your votes to all this a little bit.
What are the new start times?
I'm sorry.
The new start time and end times?
We haven't, I'm still waiting to get some information from transportation. Because some of that depends on what we do with reconfigurations. Anything else? We're going to, yeah.
I just have one question. It's just a little off topic. Just as far as like when children, the age that, the cutoff date when children, the birth date when you start school. So the cutoff date's August 31st, but we start school on August 1st. So I'm just wondering, why is there such a big gap? Like, why isn't it August 1st if they're starting?
Did they rescind that? A couple of years ago, they passed a law saying that this next year, I think is it 2018 school year, where it goes to July 31st, and then the next year it goes to June 31st on the cutoff dates. That was proposed a couple of years ago.
So it is going to go into effect?
Well, I need to verify that before I actually say
I
that.
have one that's his birthday, August 31st, and he'll be starting kindergarten at age 4, which is just a little crazy.
And yes, it is, and you have a choice. Contrary to a lot of belief, in Georgia, kindergarten is not required. The age requirement is 7 years old. But I do strongly recommend going to kindergarten, absolutely. But that would be a parental choice of whether to go ahead and start him at 4 or wait until the next year and start him at 5. But that would be your choice.
But he would have to start kindergarten at 5. I mean, he couldn't just go, and if I had,
Once he hit 6, then we can look at first grade. I mean, of course, we also do, you don't have to even declare whether you're homeschooling or anything up until 6 years old. But once he hits 6, then he's got to either be in public school or private school or homeschool. But younger than 6, and what we would do is we would look at it at 6, if he came in at 6, we would do some testing to see what would be the best place for him. Yes, ma'am.
So my children will be upset with me for bringing this up, but on the 160-day calendar, I know that that's going to extend the school day for the kids a little bit. But the kids are already involved in after-school activities, and Dalton, is already being transported out of school for wrestling activities later in the day because their schools are out earlier. So I guess my concern is if our day is extended even a little bit, that means he's going to be missing even more of his school day.
We're actually looking at, and one thing I didn't mention with some of the schedules at the high school, we're looking at building in another period, that last period, depending upon start times and how long we go, it could be anywhere from 35 to 45 minutes at the end of the day. And we're looking at that day being things such as acceleration, remediation, club schedules, pep rallies, leaving early for athletic events. Union County does something similar to that, and one of the things that they do as an incentive is if the students have been at school all week and if they've not gotten into any trouble and they've done all their work, they get to actually leave early on that 35, 45 minutes on Fridays. We could look at an incentive similar to that, or monthly or something with parental permission, and those that don't drive, then we just got to make sure there's something fun that they can do during that same block of time. But that would help alleviate some of our leaving early and missing classes, because that is a concern.
Great, thank you.
Anything else? I do hope you all realize that, at any time you have any concerns, questions, complaints, suggestions, my door is always open. You may have to wait for another parent to leave before you get to come in, but my door is open. So don't think that your voices doesn't mean something, because it does. You want to know this. I want this school system to be your school system. A school that you're very proud of and very community oriented, and I want it to be for Pickens County. We've been working real hard with relationships with other entities within our county. I want to make sure that our parents are connected, and because we will never be the school system that our kids deserve and this community deserves if we don't work together. We've got to have parents, teachers, students, and staff working together, and only then will we ever attain the level of academic excellence that we all strive for. So I do appreciate you. I appreciate you coming out tonight. Anything else? Do we have ballots and stuff? Can y'all put them out?
Yes, sir.
so are we voting on the 170 or 174?
You got, that's a good question. On there, does it say 170 on there?
Yeah, here's what we're going to use the same ballot that the staff used, so we're not changing the wording of any of the ballots. So if you want the 174 that has been introduced since the staff voted, just write it in and it'll be counted
Separately.
Yeah, we'll count those separately and keep a tally of those as well. And then on the grade reconfiguration ballot, there's two ballots, a calendar and a grade reconfiguration. On the grade reconfiguration, the staff did not have the K6 option listed. They wrote it in. So if you want the K6 option on the grade reconfiguration, just write it in, and it'll be counted separately. And we've got some pencils that are coming around When you finish, there's a box back there, great configuration, box for calendar, just hold it, drop it in there, and we'll get them counted.
And we'll take what you ask and what you look at, and we'll take it into consideration, and then we will, I'm not gonna say we'll take the top choice, but we will look at it very closely and submit it to the board and let them make a decision from there.